Oh, hello there. Hi, Speed Gaming Dos. Sorry. Somebody accidentally pushed the SAP button on their remote. Speed Gaming 2, what's going on? It's a Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide Wednesday where we are going to be showcasing the open world Final Fantasy VI Randomizer. I'm one of your hosts for this evening, the Schwantz27. I have Darkness on board in the commentary booth with me. Darkness, how are you feeling tonight?
I'm doing good. I'm excited for a little three-way action we got going on here between Papa Shango, Quest for Workin, and Retro Dad RPG. Retro Dad, I believe, is in one of the members of the Moogle Cup, which just started this week. So we've been getting that underway, and yeah, so it'll be interesting. And I'm pretty sure Workin and Shango were past members. Schwantz, you've been around longer than me. You'd probably
That
know
is
better
correct.
on that.
Yes, they have. They have been at one point Moogles in the Moogle Cup. This is the 5th iteration of the Moogle Cup. But before we dive into those details, also want to shout out Gretham on the ones and twos behind the scene, is going to be pushing the buttons to make sure we have the correct counts on stream. Retro Dad RPG's cropping looks horror bad. I'm going to go fix that. So why don't you, Darkness, explain what Moogle Cup is and all that other fun stuff?
Yeah, so Moogle Cup is basically the intro to Worlds Collide, that tournament stuff we have. It's also a flag set, which is basically sort of the more beginner flag set that we have. It's more designed to get you pretty good weapons. You're more likely to find like the best weapons in the game. You get XP faster. There's a few like niche things that just make gameplay generally much easier. Then also the Moogle Cup tournament is a tournament that's based on a flag set where new runners are paired with older runners that are mentors, and those mentors teach the Moogles how to go through, and they also get to participate in their races against the Moogles. The mentors get to participate as sort of like a guide to them. They get to talk to them while the Moogles are racing and give them advice and stuff. So it's a very fun tournament. I also was a member of the previous Moogle Cup, so I enjoyed it a lot. It was a very very fun experience if you're looking to get into Worlds Collide at all. It's definitely highly recommended. Obviously we have one going on right now, so it's probably going to be a little while till another one goes on. But the fourth Moogle Cup 4, which I was in, was only was in like October or so it wasn't that long ago. I guess September or so generally like 4 to 6 months. So if you're interested, and even if if you don't want to participate in a tournament, there's plenty of people around there always willing to help if you join the Discord and just want advice or want people to look at your runs and tell you what things you can do better and stuff like that. So yeah, I think this should be a fun race. Yeah, I guess for those not as in the know about the Moogle Cup flags, you've seen a bit about them scrolling through the objectives there. You get 6 characters and 9 espers to beat the game. And to get Skip, which skips about the first half of the Kefka Tower dungeon, you either need any one of 9 characters, 12 espers, or 21 checks. And then, as you see below, you get all 8 sword techs for completing Doma Dream Check, all the Magitech abilities for completing Magitech Factory, and then all 8 blitzes for suplexing a train, which you can do if you run into a train in the wild, or you can also do by going into the Phantom Train check after you've beaten it. You get to fight the train again. It's that time it's guaranteed to be the train boss. It's not a random boss. So if you want to go out of your way for that, and you already have the train check, if you've already done the Phantom Train check, then that is something you can do. And yeah, so I'll see. I need to figure out how. But still a couple more minutes till we get started. Let's see what else is there.
Yeah, I just gave the racers the 3-minute warning, so the race will start in about 3 minutes from now. Yeah, so we get the sort of quote-unquote standard race flags that most people are used to when they play Worlds Collide, where you unlock the Magitech upgrade if you finish the Magitech Factory check, and you learn all of the sword techs by finishing Doma Dream. So let's talk a little bit about what even is a Worlds Collide randomizer anyway. So all runners start with the airship, are able to go between both worlds, and in order to get to the objective, which is to unlock and kill Final Kefka after going up Kefka's tower. We need to get to those gold numbers on your screen, 6 characters, 9 espers. We do start with 3 characters, and in Worlds Collide, the way that you earn either characters or espers are doing world events from the game, the original Final Fantasy VI game, which we call checks. And in order to do those checks, you need to have the character recruited to your party. They don't necessarily have to be in your party, but they have to be recruited to your party in order to unlock that area of the game. And as we sort of go along, we'll point out what areas we have access to, and there's some logical implications behind things because every seed is 100% completable. So we'll sort of get into that. But the key items in Worlds Collide, if you will, coming from other RPG randomizers, are the characters, which makes it kind of unique in the RPG randomizer space, I think, Darkness.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree because there's also like very few checks in the game compared to most like games where it's like like every chest can be a check or whatever. This is just only basically the events there within a game for like finishing certain dungeons and stuff. So it's only like I think like 60 in total. Only like 50 of them can give you a character or an esper. So there's a lot, very limited in terms of like where the options you have to go and stuff. And then also I think I forget what I was gonna say, but I think it's just sort of a very unique randomizer in that aspect.
We also give our runners 3 Moogle Charms, 1 for each lane of Kefka's tower. So you could either keep the Moogle Charm on, which avoids those random encounters, or you could take it off in order to level yourself up. Go ahead.
I remember what I was going to say. It was just that the fact that you don't need specific things, it's just like the amount of characters and the amount of espers you get also makes it a lot sort of easier. You're generally not, running around looking for like a specific item for go mode or whatever. I mean, you are for characters, but it's obviously a lot easier.
It's also unique in that there's more than one way to quote unquote beat the game. In most seeds, there are times obviously when it's rather linear, right, to get from character A to character B to C to whatever it is. Yeah. But that's normally not what happens here. So in terms of how the game plays out, enemies are not scaled to a particular location like in some other RPGs. Instead, they're dynamically scaled based on the progression that you have, the number of characters you've recruited, the number of espers you've obtained, and the number of dragons that you've killed. So that's why we have the little dragon counter on there. Not required to finish the game, but will get you some bonuses, which we'll talk about when that happens. But each enemy goes up 2 levels for each of those things you have. So right now, when you hit new game, all of the enemies are going to be level 6, and our characters and our team start off at level 3. There are checks and world events which don't have boss fights or encounters in them, so that could also increase how tough the enemies are before you've even done anything. So there's kind of a balance between how many things do we get for free versus how difficult am I going to make my enemies right away. So we'll see how our runners tackle that problem, and it looks like we are off here. Terra, Celeste, and Edgar. Nice. With Dance, Rage, and Slot. So, these are some very, very good starting characters. Christopher Walken showing us the dances. The dance abilities have been randomized between the different regions. And the Rage list, you also get some Rages to start, but you don't have to go to the Veldt to populate the Rage list. Anytime you fight an enemy, you will basically get that Rage. So that's just some interesting quirks of how the randomizer uses those 2 abilities. And it looks like, Darkness, we are headed to the treasure room here on the top half of the screen.
Yep. Morgan, meanwhile, is going to stay at Narsh. It's definitely a common spot to start. It's just Narsh because that's where you start the ship. So all you have to do is hit B and walk in. But with Terra start treasure room, I mean, you see there's 14 chests in total, I believe. Very, very hard to pass up, especially early in the seed when there's high potential for lots of good stuff in there. And see exactly what. Yeah.
So normally you don't have access to this treasure room unless you have Terra. So this Cave to the Sealed Gate is actually one of the checks that Terra ends up unlocking. Some of her other checks include the Welk spot in the very beginning of the game, as we see a flame shield there in the shop for Christopher Walken. She also gives us access to the Leet River and the Zozo Tower, where she flies off to in the vanilla game, and then also in Mobliz in the World of Ruin. So we've got 5 different locations for Terra there. So big open world when you have her as one of your starting party.
Yeah, and you're talking about the free checks. Well, we have 3 characters all have their own free check, and so it'd be interesting to see how many people or how many checks people the free checks people do to get the scaling, especially if we find like a 4th character that also has a free check, like Setzer or Sabin or something like that.
Yeah, so this is considered a free check because you just have to go to the end of the gate here, the sealed cave gate, rather. Treasure, as you see, is randomized. Shops, as you also see, are randomized. There is sort of like a restriction on how randomized the shops and chests go. Same thing with the cost of items. They're within like a percentage of what they are in vanilla. There are certain things that are not in shops that are overpowered, but you can kind of customize that so you can make it whatever you want. And here's another character who has a free check with Shadow.
Yep. So we'll see if they go to a 4th free check or if they'll cut that off a bit early. But
Natural Magic, X Magic, okay. It's interesting.
Not the worst, yeah.
Does have 40 magic power, so that's a pretty good Shadow there in terms of stats. Yeah. So let's talk about where else our runners can go. I'll do Edgar's stuff, and then you can carry on from there. So for Edgar, he has access to the Figaro Throne, where you recruit him in vanilla. And then in the World of Ruin, it's the Engine Room and Ancient Castle. Those are sort of like 2 different checks that you can combo together because you can't get to the Ancient Castle without submerging the castle first. And the only way to submerge the castle is to clear out the Engine Room. So here we see Papa Shango heading over there. An interesting thing about Edgar is that he does get half off the shops in his own castle if he's in the front of the party, which is pretty interesting, as well as in World of Ruin South Figaro. Retro Dad RPG there goes over and finds himself some pretty cheap Tizen Thief there. And I believe Papa Shango found yet another character with a free check with Gogo.
Yep. Yeah, it's technically not a free check, but it's because you do have to take a fight, but it's a fight you can't lose, so it's essentially a free check, yeah. Most people will, or a good number of people at least, will do it early, although it's a bit slow of a free check. But yeah, so we'll see if people do that as well. I think with 3 free checks already, I think I'd probably skip on Go-Go's.
Yeah.
Especially since it's probably not going to be, although, yeah, it's probably not going to be required.
We do start with warps. Yeah, we do start with warp stones, which is always nice to have for Go-Go's check, so you don't have to walk all the way back out. And Retro Dad RPG did end up buying the $7,000 or so to Zen Thief. So that's yet another free check that we have access to. And oh boy, Apple Weapon for sale for Retro Dad there. That won't come online until much later in the seed, but it's good to sort of make a mental note of that to come back to that later.
Mm-hmm. Yep, we want to see Shango going to Shadow's free check. In terms of the other free checks, Celis's is in South Figaro, so I think definitely another character with more free checks. Sabin, if you want to go to Zen World of Ruin, we could get close to unlocking level 3 at this point.
Papa Shango's thinking about doing Zone Eater, but decides against it. And yeah, Sabin with Sword Tech. So now we're kind of on the lookout. Even though we already have 6 characters, we kind of want Cyan in order to upgrade that Sword Tech ability, right?
Yep. Yeah, I think I agree with Retro Dad here going to World of Ruin South Figaro because Celis's check is in South Figaro. You can do it in World of Balance or World of Ruin, but you do get the bonus of half off shops in World of Ruin. So, and half off shops are always
is very nice.
Yeah. It's always very nice.
Christopher Warkin does pull some fixed ice out of World of Balance South Figaro. So if our runners don't go to the other world, then they're going to miss out on that set of fixed ice, which is a very, very good weapon early on in the game. And it kind of tapers off towards the end because of its randomness. Here is one of Celeste's free checks, and that is another Esper. That is Shoat. Always good to see that one show up because that is a insta-kill for tier 1 of the final battle, and at a 16 times Ice 3 reward, that's really nice to have for our runners.
Yeah, we already have our full characters, well, at least in Shango's end, but so we're probably going to get Retro Dad and Forking are probably going to get those characters pretty soon since they're all easy checks to get. So definitely happy to see an Esper now, or a couple Espers.
White dress pickup from Retro Dad RPG and half off enhancers. So that's +5 magic power for the dresses and +7 for the enhancer. So that's +12 magic power potentially to anybody that could use that. That's a huge swing in the magic stat early on there. And that is the fixed dice. Retro Dad RPG picks it up as well. We'll see if Papa Shango ends up finding that. But where else can we go? Darkness. Let's start with the characters that we started with. Celeste.
Yeah,
so where can we go if we have Celeste?
So there's the Magic Check Factory, which is actually 3 checks. The first 2 can only be an Esper and item, and the third one is guaranteed to be either a character or an Esper. So it's a pretty lengthy check, obviously, with it, but you do get 3 rewards out of it. Hopefully all Espers or characters. So that's definitely a good spot to go to. And then there's also Opera House, which we could potentially see because there does have there's an egg there.
Oh my goodness.
I didn't see where that was from, but
it's probably Warkin picked it out of the chest, so our runners will probably all come across that one as well.
Yeah, so Opera House is an interesting one to do in the beginning because there's fixed encounters there, so you can get a few levels, but there is a boss and there's no saving between the encounters and the boss. So if the boss is something like Magimaster or Doomgaze or something you can't deal with at all, then you waste 5 minutes doing all the grinding and stuff and have nothing to show for it. So generally you don't see people starting with it. I'll probably just see people getting a few levels outside, just somewhere else.
Retro Dad almost missed the experience egg there. Warkin buying the Tizen Thief, so he's up to 5 total pieces of progression. Papa Shango is at 7 pieces of progression, and Retro Dad RPG at 6 pieces of progression. So the enemies are already getting kind of difficult here. So we'll see how our runners decide to counterbalance that as well. That's one of the interesting things we'll see. I will talk about Sabin's checks, because Sabin also has 5 different checks, and one of them I think is probably the way that Papa Shango is going to go, which is Imperial Camp. It's 4 grind fights with no boss for a reward. He also gives us access to the aforementioned Phantom Train check, where once you beat the Phantom Train check, you can go back into the Phantom Forest and fight the Ghost Train boss. Try wrapping your head around that if you want to do the unlock the all blitzes thing. Although I didn't see anybody with blitz yet out of any of our runners, right?
Yeah, I didn't see it either, so I might have missed it, but I'm pretty sure we don't have blitz. So
yeah, because Sabin was Sword Tech, X Magic, Natural Magic for Shadow, and Go-Go is Go-Go. So those are our extra characters we've got. Papa Shango triggering one of Sabin's free checks here with the Collapsing House. We can see who's holding up the house, and it is a ghost, so this will be either an Esper or an item. So that'll be the reward here for Papa Shango. The other 2 checks that Sabin has is Barren Falls, which is a quick boss fight, and then Mount Colts, which is a not as quick boss fight, but it's still pretty quick relative to some of the other checks that we have access to at the moment. Oh, hi there, Ragnarok.
That's that World of Balance.
And rods, 2 different kinds of rods.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yep. Well, gravity rods we don't care about, but
I didn't see. I just saw the word rod. My eyes lit up.
But yeah, sorry, World of Ruin Coal Engine. But yeah, definitely an interesting place to do some shopping. I mean, people will go there often because that's where Setzer's free check is. But
yes,
Setzer,
interesting play.
Bit out of the way.
Yeah. Question from the chat from Clever Trevor Forever. Nice little rhyming scheme there. Trevor. So how long do these races take on average? So for sort of a standard race flag set like this is, you would think that most would go anywhere between like an hour and 15 minutes and an hour and a half. Sometimes it could take shorter, sometimes it could take a little bit longer, but usually that's about the time frame there. And I think for this flag set with these runners, we're going to be on the shorter side of things with that.
Yeah, Shango can't even afford the very cheap Zen Thief there. Oh, it's 300 short, so I'll sell something then.
Gratham also points out that there is a Valiant Knife in the Collapsing House, so that's another great weapon for our runners to use there. And Papa Shango's just grabbing all of the free stuff. Give me free, give me free. How is he going to get off of level 3. That's going to be his very big problem now, that his enemies are level 18 with 9
Yep.
pieces of progression.
Yeah, VK helps a bit. Oh, there's a sniper there. That, but we
That's
don't
also
need
a
it.
pretty nice weapon.
And there's also Genji glove I saw in the collapsing house as well. So tons of stuff. Dried meat, good if we ever find Gao, but at this point we're probably not going to. But good to always buy 1 or 2 just in case. Richard Dead meanwhile gonna take on those Dargan with the rods and dice that they picked up. So yes, that's how they're getting their levels.
Yeah, that is. So fixed dice works very weirdly. It doesn't do the normal damage calculation. It just does damage based on the numbers that you roll on the dice times your level. Unfortunately, we're level 3, which means even high dice rolls don't get that much damage. 600 damage, though, at level 3 is pretty good. And here you see the second of the rods. So, Darkness, why are we doing the dragon here if they're not required for unlocking Final Kafka?
Well, they give a ton of experience. Also, they count as a check. So, it's 1 check closer to skip if you're close. But since we're nowhere near close, it's just also gives you a guaranteed dead item reward. So, you could get, Ragnarok or, a good weapon or a good, armor or stuff like that. So it's just very, very powerful. It's gonna, assuming they win this fight, probably get them to level to like 12 or 13 or so, I would think. So it's, just a lot of XP and gives you a lot of power,
Crusader.
potentially.
Teaching a fast Ultima and Life 3 and Doom, I think. So that's some pretty good espers there.
Yeah, between the egg, all the weapons we got, and now Ultima on top of that, this is gonna be
lots of
very fast seed, I think.
All right, so Papa Shango decides to take off the Moogle Charm here to get to a grind fight. Wooly is also another great rage. I mentioned a few in the chat. Toe Cutter, Luridin are good non-elemental attacks. Harpy Eye is Arrow, which you can also teach to your lore user if we have one of them eventually somewhere. Unfortunately, Retro Dad RPG goes down to that dragon. In Worlds Collide, if you do wipe, you don't get to keep all the levels that you have prior to your last save. You just revert to your last one. Thankfully, he didn't gain any, so he didn't lose any. Yep. But we still have this problem of needing to get off of level 3, and he's going to go to the Opera House here.
Yeah, I think
the other Opera House.
Opera House World of Balance, which is what I did mention. This is Celsius check. There'll be about 4 to 6 grind fights in here, followed by a boss.
Although this one is indeathable. It's unfortunate that somebody already ran away, but. Yeah, so you don't get any XP for this fight here. You do get MP, and given the fact that we have Espers with super duper cool spells on it, it's a very easy throw Revivify on that, learn Ultima. So that's very nice. Christopher Warkin, meanwhile, doing what I said that if I found Sabin I would do, is going to the Imperial camp. We still have other characters whose checks we didn't talk about, right? We did see one of Shadow's checks at the Manor. He also opens up the Floating Continent, which is another 3-part check with a ton of boss fights and some walking and some other fights in the middle. It's definitely the longest area of the game, but there are 2 guaranteed either character or Esper rewards in that path. So it's pretty favorable to go to, especially if you want rewards there.
Yeah, it's something you could potentially.
I'm sorry. There's one more, right? The Velt Cave is the other check for Shadow.
Yeah, that's another very decent check. You do get to see the reward about halfway through, so it's very nice, especially later on. Like if Shango, right, he already has 6 characters, so he'll if he goes there, he can see if it's an Esper, then I do it. If it's a character, don't bother. Unless it's a character that has very fast checks, maybe. But yeah, in general, it's a good one to do late. Because, you're more likely to only need one thing. That's when you want to get those people with checks done, for the most part. So, probably see that later on. And then, Floating Continent, also, it's very risky to do early. And I think with how much progression we have already, I don't think it makes sense, especially when 2 of them could be characters. But, Magitech, I think it's a bit more interesting because you can warp out after the the second check, and it's pretty fast,
God,
only
this
doing the
fight.
first 2 checks. And we don't need a character, so the third check is a bit less important.
Yeah, this fight that Christopher Walken is up against is very annoying. If you don't kill that robotic thing, he'll just keep populating ads on your screen, and it's just not fun. Retro Dad RPG. These fights in the Opera House are actually pretty decent. So hopefully there is not a horrible boss at the end of this to ruin all of this good, happy, fun time here. Meanwhile, Papa Shango does get off of whatever level he was at there and is going also into Imperial Camp. So, oh my goodness. And there goes Christopher Walken. Everybody hits the deck, so he'll have to try bark up another tree here.
Yeah, was that still in? Yeah, it was Imperial Camp.
Yeah, it was Imperial Camp. Yeah. So dance will change the background of whatever you're on. And unlike in the vanilla game, there is no stumble mechanic, at least in this version of the Flags of Worlds Collide. So even if the territory is not the same as you're fighting on, you won't get the stumble when doing the dance, which I think is a really nice quality of life improvement among the many quality of life improvements that the Worlds Collide randomizer has made over the vanilla game.
Yeah, and if you're a masochist and hate dance, you can always turn that back on if you want with make your own flag set. So yep. Walken will retry these fights. I assume we'll probably just run from the that fight again when they get into it, which I think they're probably regretting not doing that immediately. But they have a Thunder Shield, as they just forgot to re-equip it when they died. Or they equipped it after they saved, I guess, or something.
This is not a fun fight here for Retro Dad RPG. Thankfully, we've learned Ultima and have enough MP to cast it, so that will hopefully do a pretty decent job. The Three Stooges here want to kill the top one first because he will revive and cure the other parts of the boss here.
Yeah.
Oh boy,
geez, that counter hurt really bad.
Yeah. Yeah, the Stooges will counter basically any attack that you pull out at them. And unfortunately, these Chocobos are not going to do much damage because they don't hit floating targets. And as you can tell by the sprites there, all 3 of these are floating targets. And now Retro Dad RPG has to make a decision. Do I stick this out and potentially wipe, or do I just reset now? I don't know if he's going to be given the choice based on the fact that this is the 3rd round. Oh, he's going for it.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to go with it with how much time's been invested already.
Yeah, after the 3rd turn, if they're all 3 of them are alive, then we're going to get Delta hit. Thankfully, one of them died. So, avoids the Delta hit for now, because that would finish this fight right away.
Yeah, well, not the one we want, because they will get revived by Curly there at the top if you don't kill Curly.
Using some nice pause buffering techniques. So slot is kind of like a rhythmic thing with your pushes of A, and if you're not used to it yet, then doing pause buffering will definitely help. Because believe it or not, the slots are rigged, and here comes Curly. Oh, he went for the reset there. It's hard because your character is slowed, and they just basically brought that character back to full health, which is kind of annoying, or that enemy back to full health. So
yeah, I think I would have stuck it out. I mean, I don't know how many Phoenix Downs they still have, or if they have like any way to revive people, but yeah, I think I would have, I mean, Curly must have been pretty low HP considering you killed the other 2.
Yeah.
So I think I would have just try to get Curly down, then revive people, and then hopefully all 4 of them can take out one once I've sort of restabilized.
Yeah, it's hard because I usually tell newer players, the earlier you recognize that this is a situation you can't do, you should reset, right? Because you'll minimize time loss, but at the same time, you've already invested so much time into those grind fights with the rats, right? So. So chat pointing out that we did get an Esper out of Imperial Camp, and it was an Esper with an HP bonus on it, which is really nice for our Valiant Knife user, which in Papa Shango's case is Sabin here.
Yeah, and so how the Valiant Knife works, basically, you get bonus damage for your current HP, or your max HP minus your current HP gets added on top of whatever the base damage is. So yeah, having more max HP means you can get a lot more from that, and yeah, definitely very good, especially if it's a high percentage HP Esper. So always nice to see if you have a VK, especially because I assume they got the egg as well. I think everyone got the egg. So HP Esper, an egg, and a VK, all you're missing really is an offering, and you just got like, then you have someone that can just destroy the entire seed, basically. Not that we need more with all this stuff we got. So,
with Sabin being dead from this fight, he will not gain the XP and the MP from it. However, I think finishing the fight is more important than trying to get one character back up to try and finish it. So Papa Shango does finish that fight. Inferno, a Kefka Tower boss on the Barren Falls there. So the bosses in this version of the seed, they are shuffled, so we won't see any duplicates. And then the dragons, even though you saw the dirt dragon in the Opera House, they are also shuffled. So you won't see dragons at boss spots and vice versa, and you won't see duplicates of them, but they won't be where they're supposed to be.
This time, the Chaser Pipsqueak fight going much better for working there, getting rid of the Chaser there. So this should go much easier. And
more characters.
Yeah, Retro finding their 6th character.
Are we playing Pokemon Randomizer? Like, what's going on here?
This is all characters roaming. Gotta catch them all or something.
Yeah, so question for you, Darkness. Since we already have our 6 characters, does that kind of influence where you sort of pick and choose where to go next? Because there are certain checks that can reward either Espers or items instead of characters or Espers or items.
Yeah, I think it definitely... Ooh, Shango is... Alright, the race is heading. I was gonna say...
Yeah, I don't know. That was
the item.
That's a tough decision, though. Ragnarok is a great item that basically anybody in his party can use, right? Because how Worlds Collide works, or at least in this seed, you can equip everything you can equip in the vanilla game, or if you can't, there's a 33% chance that you can. So Edgar, Terra, and Celeste can all use that Ragnarok. So he definitely would have found a home and a place for it. It's just, do you want to do the whole Phantom Train check to get it, right? Which is a lot of walking and one grind fight and one boss fight, admittedly, right?
Yeah, I think with having Ultima already and having the VK already and the fixed dice, I think we have enough offense that an extra Ragnarok probably isn't worth like the 2 minutes plus whatever the boss fight is to do it. So I agree with resetting there. I was surprised because he did think about it for a sec, but yeah, I guess so. In terms of going back to what we were talking about before, in terms of where I would go, I think, yeah, definitely things that can only be an Esper or an item are worth doing, and also things that are peekable. I mentioned before, like the Cave on the Belt check is peekable, so that's probably one we'll see pretty shortly. And we just saw Phantom Train. You can peek it there by talking to the Esper. You can actually, or the ghost there, and or the character if it's a character. And so that's another way to know quickly whether it's what you need or not. And so yes, I definitely agree with going to those things. So I think, yeah, probably Magic Factory, Cave on the Belt, those are probably the places I'd go to next. Besides that, I have to think just more fast checks. I assume probably going to see the wealth check here because it's right here in Nourish World of Balance. So
yeah,
makes sense to do a bit of shopping here and do that check since it's also very fast.
Yeah, so an interesting thing about Papa Shango, to throw another wrench in this, is we do see a muscle belt there, which is also another great relic for a Valiant Knife user because it increases your max HP. He's looking for that offering in these monster in a boxes, right? So as far as checks go that have monster in a boxes, we've seen a few already. Imperial Camp, Phantom Train, the little classroom there. We also have the Collapsing House, which has 2 in it. That's Sabin's checks. For Shadow, we have 1 on the Floating Continent and 1 on the Veld Cave. And then for Edgar, we have 2 in the Ancient Castle. So it'll be interesting to see if Papa Shango prioritizes those monster in a box check areas, or if he's going to do what you said, which is just focus on checks that are either Esper item or ones that you can peek. And this is a peekable check. We see the Narsh guard poke out of the Welk spot, so this is not going to be a character here either.
Yeah, I think I'd probably just focus on the fastest checks. Obviously, if they have monster boxes that do them, but so it's mainly Cave on the Belt. But I definitely wouldn't like do floating content just for like the chance of maybe hopefully it's the one monster box with the you know the Katana Soul in it, so or like Ancient Castle, because that's also a pretty slow check, although there are 2 there. But I think with how much progression we have, I probably wouldn't do either of those checks at this point.
Genji Glove was the reward from Barren Falls, so that is not a character or Esper. So that would be considered what we'd call a quote-unquote dead check. Gives you a high-tier item instead. That's, I think, the first one we've seen thus far in the entire seed. So
this is an interesting play by... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Because this is an interesting play by Shango here with going to World of Balance Zozo. This is not the fastest check ever, and there's no save before the fight. So if you run to an annoying boss, like we see 3 characters at level 25, that's Doomgaze, and like he wipes to this, then he'd have to walk like a minute and a half to get back there.
You.
Something that happened to me in the quarterfinals when I got eliminated. I came up here and it was Doomgaze, and I was all level 35, and I had to go elsewhere.
So you're never going to this check ever again, basically. It's
definitely not level 35. Yeah.
It is written off for you entirely. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like other faster checks that we have. There's the first 2 of the Magitech Factory. Yeah. You could warp out after doing both of those. The Velt Cave you can peek. But other than that, I think we're running out of like very fast peekable checks at this point.
Yeah, I think maybe Engine Room. I mean, you do get to kind of peek it at the beginning.
Mobliz.
Mobliz. I'd probably do Mobliz over Zozo. So I think, I mean, yeah, if we got some bad luck, you'd have to come here eventually, probably. But I think this would be, although it is vanilla Dataluma.
Yeah, well, this is why you come to Zozo. It's Dataluma, not Doomgaze. Other boss with a D. As Jazer points out in the chat, it's kind of similar to Mount Colts in terms of like time from start of check to boss. There are more treasures that's readily available here, although I think we're pretty much done looting at this point.
Yeah.
So we get through this fight and we'll see what the reward is. Retro Dad RPG. Really nice comeback there from getting bopped around a few times in order to get through Imperial Camp. Made an interesting call of going to do more free checks instead of trying to get off of level 3, but he did stumble into Sabin, which is nice. And here is a Yeti. I didn't happen to see if the reward was a character or not when we did the Welk check, so maybe we'll keep an eye on that. You can kind of peek Umaro's one and only check in his cave as you're going up to do Welk.
Yeah, that's also, I forgot to mention Tritalk is another good spot. That's another thing that can only be an Esper item, and then especially with Yeti now, that's an extra check you can do. There's also a dragon there if you want to kill a dragon, so be 3 checks with one of them not being able to be a character, and one of them obviously being guaranteed dead with the dragon, but
right.
You could potentially get 2 Espers out of it.
Yeah, so it's interesting. We do have some areas or checks which are not character gated. The Tizen Thief that we saw a bunch of people buy is one of them. The Tritalk Cliff is another one of them, but can only be Esper item. And then the Narsh battle with Kefka is the only check that is not gated that is a potential character. I don't think we'll see that given we already have our 6 characters, but I'm just pointing it out because that's just an interesting edge case for our runners to consider.
Yeah, and there's a couple more that can only be Esper's RAM, so you could potentially see Auction House. I don't think we'd see at this point. It's pretty slow. Most people don't want to do it. Then we're probably not going to see anyone go for it intentionally, but the Doomgaze check, the Search the Skies, you can get accidentally by running into the tile. I think it's like 5 minutes if you want to run through every tile or something. So you're definitely not going to do that. But if you're lucky enough to run into it, that would potentially be an item or an Esper you get there. So could help you out, or you could just run into it while you're going right into Kefka's tower and just get delayed for a minute, having to fight a boss when you already have unlock. So you never know. But oof, this is a fun boss here, spicy boss.
Yeah. So we saw 2 of our runners get past Inferno, but Retro Dad RPG unfortunately bouncing off of him, and oh man, he's going right to the spicy chicken here. That's a bit unfortunate.
Yep.
Gretham points out in the chat that Christopher Warkin did put Sabin in the party after grabbing that Valiant Knife, even though Sabin is at level 3, because that is how good the Valiant Knife is. Thankfully, we have an experience egg, so hopefully he'll get up to speed in no time here. But
yeah,
we got a roadblock in front of us that is Poltergeist.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty hard for Sabin at level 3 to survive this Poltergeist fight. She's probably not going to get any experience from this. But Shango gets through it pretty easily. I think working as well, probably with the power they have, should probably be able to get through this fairly simply. But yeah, Sabin, Poltergeist has too many strong attacks for Sabin to realistically have a good chance of surviving, I think. Oh, it was another Esper, so we'll mention power +2. Good for whoever's spamming the blue bubbles. It's going to be nice to have. It's unfortunate we had a reset there from.
I think there's something. It looked like a weird emulator thing, and not like a. Oh, I know that this is. Well, he's going to be in for a rude awakening here anyway.
Yep. Nope, or leave it out though. Yeah, but it was weird. It looked like the conveyor there was like glitching out or something.
We did get an Esper from Poltergeist. I didn't see which one it was, but I did see the number go up. So thanks, Gretham, for being the real MVP of the stream, pushing the buttons. And oh god, here's another beefy boss. Funbaba always skips leg day at the gym, but Ultima will blow him over real quick. Reverse Baba breath, if you will.
Yeah, I think the Esper is Bismarck. I forget. I just remember Papa Shango checking it, and that was magic power +2, so it went on. I think it's Terra, one of the two that are spamming the blue bubbles. So, yep. But a couple Ultimas get him down pretty quickly. He might be one of the tankiest bosses in the game, but Ultima is also pretty good at dealing tons of damage.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize we had jump. Ooh, another egg. Nice to have. You'd prefer an Esper at this point, but more XP is definitely going to make it even easier. These upcoming fights.
All right, so Papa Shango decides to not do the back half of the Magitech Factory, even though it is a guaranteed Esper or item. It's still a long way to get there, and as we mentioned, there are other checks that he can go do, like this World of Ruin loop. Christopher Warkin takes a wipe to Poltergeist, so that is Polty 1 and our runners 1 so far. Let's see if Retro Dad RPG can blue bubble his way through this fight here.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot tougher for him at such a low level. I didn't see what Warkin's level was, but clearly not as high as Shango's, or just got very unlucky with the Polty being Polty. No, we're going to go Floating Continent. Interesting play. At 5 and 4, I agree with it more, because you don't have the 6 character. It's a bit riskier, although it's interesting that they haven't done Edgar's throne room check, because they do not have Go-Go, and I believe that's where Go-Go was. It is a free check, so you think they do it at some point.
Well, part of the problem is that this seed was not lacking for tons of free checks, as you mentioned. I think we had access to like 7 different legitimate free checks, including to Zen Thief, because it was so cheap, right? So at some point you have to say enough is enough, otherwise I can't even get over the hump, right? So I do like Warkin here going to Floating Continent, because we need to bump up the levels of Sabin, and usually whenever I take a wipe I usually try to pivot my direction immediately to something that maybe is not as popular. Because if I'm going to do the same stuff that everybody else does, then I already know that I lost all that time to a wipe. There's no point in, retreading steps, basically. So if this is something he thinks that other runners won't do, and he finds something good up here, then that'll benefit him greatly. Plus all the levels he's going to get as well.
Yeah, especially the grind fights are going to help Saban catch up a lot, because it's going to be very tough for him to survive a boss fight at level 3. But these, grind fights that get killed by one ultimate instantly, he's, surviving, going to get at least, probably up to like level 20 or so by the time we get into the first boss fight. And that should be at least high enough for him to, survive the fight.
Yeah.
At the very least.
One of the nice things about losing to Poltergeist is we know you don't have to fight him unless you go back to the place where he's at, right? So,
yeah, I think one thing another check I was considering over floating content would have been like the engine room check, because it is peekable, and for working, since he hadn't done the throne room check, you could combine that in with the throne room check and potentially Ancient Castle as well if you're looking for that offering. So that'd be another, that's also 3 checks, and potentially like I don't know the exact time, but I think it's probably about the same as doing floating content, although you aren't getting any of these nice grind fights that Morgan is getting by doing floating content here.
Yeah, it's tough because even though there's more fights in floating continent, I think between all the walking and the cutscenes, there's more of that in Edgar's loop, but I still think that floating continent is slightly longer. I could be mistaken. There are probably some numbers in a spreadsheet somewhere that'll prove me wrong. So,
yeah, I found a spreadsheet with all the times for the checks somewhere, but I have to look at it again. But yeah, I think it's probably slightly faster to be doing engine room.
A second Illumina there in the northern part of World of Ruin Narsh. One from the Dragon, one from Tritalk. Can we go 3 for 3, chat? For Papa Shango's case, I hope not, but he is going to go.
We will get to, check the monster box, but we will get to see whether it's an Esper item or character.
Oh, it's a loot pinata. Or XP pinata, rather.
You'd prefer, at this point, definitely prefer the offering, but this is definitely the second best option.
Yeah.
Give a boatload of XP.
Yeah,
let's see. Yeah, 31k. Thank you very much. But yeah, so I think if this does wind up being an item at the check, I think he'll probably just skip it, considering how much power we've got. Yeah, looks like Edgar's going to dual Illuminas with the Genji gloves we found. Makes sense. Very strong.
Yeah.
One of the best weapons in the game.
Christopher Warkin getting Rexol on his second fight here. So we changed the battle script for Rexol in Worlds Collide to not have Rexol inhabit someone's body. It's probably fine 90% of the time, but if you ever fight this guy in Kefka's Tower, it's a bit of a problem, because normally in Worlds Collide, we only have 6 or 7 characters in our team instead of all 14, right? So that means 2 characters per party inside of Kefka's Tower. So if he were to possess somebody, your party would basically be over, right? If you had if you had him in Kefka's Tower. So I'd like to at some point, although I think the community would hate me for it, write in some code logic that says, hey, if Rexol gets placed inside of Kefka's Tower, don't do the zinger. Otherwise, do the zinger stuff. But I think some people would hate that.
Yeah, well, if you are a masochist, you can turn that flag back on if you want to deal with that. And the reason why I was oohing is because we saw a baby Illumina Ragnarok there from Shango's side, and he did choose to take the item, even though he knew it was an item. He didn't know which item it was, and took down the dual hand pretty quickly. I guess maybe hoping for like an offering or something, but another big stick.
Yeah. Magic power plus
worst,
2. Yeah, I was going to say Magic Power plus 2 Esper there on Torado from Christopher Warkin after doing the first part of the Floating Continent. And here's this monster in a box that nobody else might get to. Is it our Katana Soul?
Nope.
No.
Presenter, you probably just going to run from this.
Yep. There is no point in fighting this one. Just get out of here. Meanwhile, We do get a Kefka and Arsh play here from Retro Dad RPG. I like this play because, again, like I mentioned, if you've encountered some difficulty, maybe do one or two things that you don't think other runners are going to do and hope that you get something cool out of it. So this is not something that other runners are going to tend to do, because this is a check that everybody forgets about because it's not character gated, right?
Yep. Nope. Alver on the monster box here in Cable the Vault. Sadly, not really what we want, but it dies to Revivify, so easy fight at the very least. But yeah, I think, yeah, definitely, especially with Retro Dad's situation needing a bit more XP, I agree with taking a check that has a few grind fights if you want to take those, catch up a bit on the experience there, and get the Tritalk Esper out of it.
Wrong. That's the wrong world for the Tritalk Esper. There is a shiny stone on the ground. Thankfully for Papa Shango, the parade of dead checks stops here. That is assuming he can beat whatever is going to ambush him, trying to help out the good boy Interceptor. We'll see what this boss fight is. And Christopher Workin, meanwhile, is finally up to the second part of the floating continent, in case you thought we forgot about him. We kind of did for a little bit, but here we go.
New Guardian, another tanky boss, but should go down pretty easily with the amount of power we have.
And Rappa decided to move over a little earlier in the floating continent here.
Yep, he's one check too early, so who knows? Maybe swap spots with that weapon and we'll get him at the end.
Yeah, the problem with this fight is that Narappa has Reflect on, so if you have a magic-heavy party like we do, they could be sometimes difficult to kill, but we have Shrapnel, which ignores Reflect. We have Valiant Knife, which will cut through Reflect as well. And we get Phantom. So we're 2 for 2 on the floating continent. And Retro Dad RPG is going to be right on the heels there. Papa Shango pet the dog after getting another Esper. So they are just 2 away from go mode. Gretham, I know you said that you have their tracker up. How many checks does Papa Shango have? And Darkness, do you want to talk about the Kefka Tower skip?
Yeah, so we need either 9 characters, which we're probably not going to get, 12 Espers, which we're definitely not going to get, or 21 checks, which we might get, depending on how many checks they are at currently, in order to get Kefka Tower skip. Basically, that skips the first half of Kefka's Tower, which is all the walking up to the switches in the middle, and then also the Inferno fight. Or whichever party is party 3, you don't have to do that, so it saves a lot of time, about like 5 to 7 minutes, depending on the boss and how powerful you are and stuff. So good, definitely good to have. If you're having unlock at 15 checks, you're probably not gonna be doing that, but it's a nice way to sort of catch up if you've been a bit unlucky in terms of what your checks were or what your progression was.
Papa Shango is at 16 checks, and that is a Mog there. And Papa Shango says, "You know what? I don't need a character. We're gonna peace out." He is at 16 checks according to our tracker, Gretham. So that is 5 away from skip. He definitely needs to do at least 2, right, to get the 2 more Espers.
Yep.
So,
it's interesting that Shango chose to peek it that way, because if you go into the other building there, the first building, there's an NPC you can talk to, which will tell you what the reward is.
Exactly,
specifically
what it
by
is,
name.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, unless it's a Ragnarok, then you don't know which Ragnarok it is. But yeah. But that aside, yeah. So I think needing an Esper, that's probably, I would have checked that, because if it's an Esper, an item, just checking the sprite, you don't know. So you have to check the item, figure out what the specific thing it was. But didn't matter since it was Mog. So Shango gonna go up to Mount Colts. This is a decently fast check. Again, similar to, I think it was, Jazer mentioned it, similar to Mount Zozo World of Balance, where it's kind of annoying, a bit slow, but not that bad. No,
it's not too bad.
Yeah. So I think we're starting to run out of great checks to do, so I think it's definitely where I would go next.
Yeah, I think those 2 checks have some bias of vanilla, where they are hideously long areas without the Moogle Charm on, right? Both Zozo and here. It's not as bad in the randomizer, but it's still not as quick as a lot of the others. And Christopher Workin is out of Phoenix Downs, so he's using cure spells in the menu in order to make sure that his characters don't die on whatever boss this is. So nice heads-up play from him, knowing that, hey, I don't have any backups, and hey, you called it!
Yep.
One internet points for you, sir.
Yep. Meanwhile, we got Vargas switching screens here on the left side of the screen instead of the right where he should be, in Shango's side. So we got tons of vanilla swap things going on here. But ammo weapon down quickly to Bubbles. All three of them down quickly to stabby things to Bubbles.
Yeah, Edgar just throwing out crazy damage with those 2 Illuminas there. So we'll see what Workin gets at the end of the floating continent. This will be an Esper or an item. And it is an Esper, because that is not a character sprite. And Papa Shango gets his 8th Esper there at Mount Colts. Just 1 away from go mode here.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what he does next. I'm trying to remember what he hasn't done yet. That could be an option, I guess. I mean, Leet River we're never going to do.
No. Floating Continent's not happening. Magitech 3 is not happening. Oh no, are we going to the auction house? We're going to the auction house. There is 1 Esper in the auction house in these settings, so you can have 2, 1, or 0 potentially, and then the seed will figure out how many it actually does. So he's going to sell off all of his stuff. You can actually talk to the guy out front, and he'll tell you whether or not there's an Esper in the auction house or not. But Papa Shango is just betting the farm on this, literally.
Yep. Yeah, I think I'd probably check first. I mean, it does waste a bit of time to check, but also selling all the things when you don't. There's nothing here. Wastes a bit of time. So
yeah. I mean, there's so much stuff we don't need. Look at all that stuff.
Yeah, there's plenty of stuff that we can sell. So money is not an issue, but no Espers. So we're gonna have to figure out something else to do.
We would see a different message pop up there. It would say something like shiny stones or glowing stones.
Glowing stones for sale, I think. Yeah.
All right. So where is Papa Shango going? We could do Zone Eater. That's a free check. That's not great, and that's what he's doing.
Yeah. It's definitely not my favorite, but it's better than a lot of the checks that we could be doing.
Because we've got...
It's not like we need experience at this point.
All right, well, Quest for Workin is going to show us what's in Edgar's loop, and as you mentioned, this is going to be a good thing for him because he has not gotten Go-Go off the Figaro throne yet, and we're going to see there's a character or NPC reveal here, and it is an NPC, so this is a potential Esper as well down here. Yeah. So Papa Shango could have done this instead. It's kind of like a peek, right? So
yeah, I forgot that we hadn't done this yet. I think that's what I would have done at this point, needing 1 Esper. And because if it's a character you see at the start and you can reset. Obviously, if it's dead, don't know if it's an item or an Esper, but at least it eliminates one of the possibilities early on. So you don't have to go with everyone's favorite room.
Yeah, Papa Shango's in Go-Go's 1 check, and this is Ever Runner's nightmare here. This one guy on the bridge doing little menu buffer strats, and it backfires on him. Oh no! You hate to see it happen.
Yep, this is why I always avoid this place whenever possible. But sometimes
the room after this is not great either.
Yeah. Well, at least there is.
Well, after. Yeah.
Which I always save because it happened to me once. That was a good pause buffer there. Yep, and I got him to run away. But once I got like a really good troll room there, and then didn't save and got crushed, and then had to do that again, and got a really bad troll room where I got like knocked off like 3 or 4 times. So from that point forward, I always saved there, no matter what.
Very easy.
I didn't want to experience that again.
No, definitely not. Very easy boss there on our pasta, and it is a Phoenix Esper there for Questa for Workin. We'll probably grab Go-Go before Ancient Castle, although you could save a little bit of time if you grab that reward afterwards. And we get a shiny stone at the end, so that is Kefka unlock for Papa Shango. Now, the question is, if they are at 18 checks now, I think, if I'm doing the math correctly, how do you get to 21 from here? Is there fun ways that you can quote unquote manipulate that to get to 21 checks for skip?
Well, what I would do, I think, if I'm going for skip, is I would do the Opera House Dragon. We saw Retro Dad attempt it. It's a very fast check. It's only like 30 seconds or whatever to get there. And then you go into Kefka's tower. You take everyone down mid lane, and you fight the Toilet Atma boss, and then fight the dragon there. And it looks like this is what Shango's doing. And then you get your 2 checks. From inside KT, then warp back out and enter KT again with skip, and that's what Shango will be doing. It seems like. I think it's a bit debatable just because we've had so many levels that I don't think we need to do a few extra checks to get skip, but it's probably slightly faster. While you're taking on a boss either way, so
yeah, I mean, there's two reasons. Yeah. There's 2 reasons to go do extra checks after you've unlocked Kefka, right? It's to gain more levels, because inside Kefka's tower, that's where your party is at their weakest, right? Because you have to split everybody up. So there's usually your main 4 characters you've been running with the whole seed. They now are going to each be split up into one team, and then one of the teams will have 2 of those characters. But that still can be pretty rough depending upon the bosses we find in there. So having the extra levels will help. And then this is the other reason that you mentioned, is to go get skip. And I think you said that that skip does save 5, 6, 7 minutes, something like that, of walking.
Yeah, something.
So if you can do these 3 checks faster than the 5 minutes that it would take you to go in the normal way, then it's worth it. We are doing a speed run after all, so we're trying to optimize how fast we're going.
Yeah, I think I timed it once. I think it's like 3.5 minutes of walking plus whatever the Inferno boss fight takes. So obviously the Inferno boss fight is going to be a bit slower since you only have 2 party members there,
Right.
potentially, or 1 party member depending how you set your party up. But so yeah, it's probably about 5 minutes, assuming the fight, an average fight, but it could be longer if you get a bad fight.
Yeah, and his Sabin is swollen at 8,500 HP with that HP plus Esper bonus on and that Valiant Knife.
Morgan getting ambushed by the Vanilla Blue Dragons.
Okay.
Vanilla Dragon. Wasn't Vanilla Ice Dragon though, so right? I don't think.
Did he grab the reward yet? He must have. It must have been another Esper.
No, Workin, no, he got ambushed by the dragon.
Okay.
When he was trying to get it first.
And Retro Dad RPG is almost done with the floating continent, getting the 3rd out of 3 Espers here. Here is the optional boss in the vanilla game, the jacked up Atma. In this case, it is Flame Eater. This is considered a check in Worlds Collide, so you will get a high tier item. And one of the things I love about, sort of the way that the meta has evolved is that this check used to always be like a meme thing. Like you would only do it if you agreed to do it in the race room at the beginning. Now it's actually something that can be somewhat interesting to help you go for a skip or to get some sort of reward based on the objective system. So I really like how interesting this check has become over the course of Worlds Collide history, if you will.
Yeah, we got the Golem Esper there from the Ancient Castle
nice.
check.
Really nice.
Which, yeah, going to be very important for when we get into the final Kefka fight as protection from the instant death physical attack calmness. So yeah, very nice to have, and he'll be welcome back. I didn't see if he took on the monster boxes. I assume he must have, but I don't know if he found the offering.
Nope, that was PM Stalkers. And here is it. So there's not very many. The only one we don't have access to is the one in Setzer's check. And unfortunately,
Spectre.
Yeah, that might be where our offering is, folks.
Yeah,
I think that's the only one we haven't seen. Oh, and Phantom Train, right?
Yeah, and we didn't see. I don't think anyone ever took on the Zen or Collapsing House ones because there are 2 in here, but they went early. And obviously, if you're at level 3, you're probably not going to be able to take on a Katana Soul. So
I think this is going to be unlocked for Retro Dad RPG here, right? This is an Esper.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, they might decide to take the monster box since they did come here late. Don't choosing or they might just take the way out.
Though. Yeah.
Oh, they never find the knife. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the knife I think is in here, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh right, yeah. Yeah, never mind. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, you wouldn't have. Yeah, there's no way it would have.
At some point, it takes longer to go get the chests than the potential reward out of the chests, right? At this point, you're only looking for like, a handful of things. And since there are 255 items in the game, opening up a chest is way less lucrative than fighting a dragon per se, where you're going to get, one of those high tier items that you're looking for anyway. Christopher Warkin also getting go modes, so we got 2 other go modes at about the same time, and Papa Shango showing off the power of the skip here, as we're right on the switches right before the 4 boss gauntlet.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see again what Retro's and Warkin's check count is, because that might affect whether they choose to go for skip as well, or if they just choose to walk it. But yeah, it should be neck and neck between those two. They're going to have a bit of catching up to do if they want to chase down Shango. It's already halfway through KT, but it's definitely possible, especially if you wipe to in Kefka's or in Final Kefka. That could definitely waste a lot of time.
Speaking of Kefka, he just came down from up on high to say hello to us, and now he's saying, "All right, I'll catch you in a few minutes. Bye bye." Okay, bye then.
Yep. We'll definitely see later.
They are not even close. So Retro Dad is at 12 checks, and Questifer is at 14.
Yeah.
Isn't 12 is the bare minimum? That is insane.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I guess resetting from having all those deaths, it made him actually dodge the few of the dead checks that they could have done.
There we go. Christopher Warkin picking up some Phoenix Downs because he had 0, remember, from the end of the Floating Continent, so is now ready to go into Kefka's Tower here.
Yeah, Phoenix Downs are definitely somewhat important, reviving people. Good to have. And meanwhile, we got Retro Dad choosing check Coliseum. Definitely a good pick if you feel like you need a bit more power. Everything is visible here in the Moogle Cup flag set, which is another slight difference between the Ultras League, the more standard flag set, where only some things are visible. But there's Muscle Belt, but again, we don't have a VK on his end,
I see a couple of elemental shields in here. I think there was a weapon further up.
It's Behemoth Suit.
Yeah, Behemoth Suit, that's what it was. So the Colosseum and Worlds Collide, the enemies, well, at least in this flag set, right, the enemies are randomized, and then the reward for the item that you bet is also randomized. So that's something you could toggle as well, as how much of that menu is visible before the fight. I didn't even see who the center boss was, but now we're on Welk. It should also not be a problem, except for except for the fact that we have Umaro. But thankfully, Umaro played along here and did get the memo. Don't hit the shell.
We have a Berserk Celos here now in the Coliseum, healing Wooly here, which is a bit unfortunate, which is... Yes, why I'm an anti-Coliseum person personally, but hopefully we'll get through there eventually. But the dice finally went off and hit. So got a nice shield out of it, which is definitely helpful, but...
Part of the problem with going to the Coliseum at this late in the game is that the Coliseum takes over the AI actions for your team, so you don't have control over what the inputs are. And if you've learned a lot of spells, and sometimes there are a lot of useless spells, you'll find that the Coliseum loves to cast, like Rasp or Shell or Safe or Sleep, and it's just like, dude, just hit the enemy, please. Just make him dead. So
yeah,
one more boss here for Shango, right? Okay.
Retro Dead going up to do something. I don't know. They're gonna take out the Tri-Tog Dragon or something. I'm not sure. I mean, it is an Illumina, so we'll get their money's worth out of it.
Yeah, this Doomgaze in the tower at this point is kind of disgusting.
Yeah,
right, we'll open up with level 5 Doom. Bye.
Thankfully.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, thankfully that was on the Shadow, not Celos. But yeah, even if you dodge level 5 Doom, he will cast Doom pretty regularly, which can be very difficult to deal with. You only have 1 or 2 party members, and his second Doom thankfully misses. Or else that would have been a wipe.
Yeah, that's why even if you have 2 people, and even if your meat shield, so to speak, gets targeted, you still have the chance of just, losing this fight. And thankfully, the third Ultima will do it there. Despite just being bones, Doomgaze has an awful lot of HP.
Yeah. He also has Shell and Safe, but thankfully Ultima ignores defense, so it ignores that. So, but yeah, if we were getting, it definitely probably, in terms of, I'm not sure he is the most HP, but with the Shell and Safe, he's definitely the tankiest boss overall. And he also has very high defense stats as well. So, but we get through it, and I believe that means we are entering Final Kefka now. So.
Try as Skull Dragon and Terra might. Retro Dad RPG gets past that fight there. We'll get an Illumina for their trouble and a bunch of levels and a bunch of MP. So we'll see if they stop here or if they continue on to Tritalk to get their second Illumina. Their levels are pretty decent now. Maybe they were a little low before that dragon, and that's why they decided to come in here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Opera Dragon would have been a bit faster, but maybe they just forgot that they died to it and didn't kill it or something, or just didn't want to take it on again. But
Dirt Dragon kind of stinks at higher levels too. They're a lot. They're probably one of the harder dragons to kill. All right, Papa Shango starting Final Kefka. The Final Kefka fight is the same that it is in vanilla, so it is not scaled, which means these enemies are all about level 70-ish, and we'll see how Papa Shango gets through this. Starting at 102.48-ish, I think they will finish at about 109. No, maybe 110. We'll give them 110.
Yeah, I'll say it's 7.5 minutes. They do have a lot of power. Dread coming out, boot missed, thankfully. So, but yeah, I think when this fast power for the most part, with all the stabby sticks that we got, don't have to worry about. Oh, well, this is slow when the Pearl procs happen. But.
Yeah. Well, I'm worried about specifically no access to Mute for the second tier and no access to Golem or Fenrir for the third part. So that might make things a bit touch and go for Papa Shango. But this first tier, mostly physical attacks, taking it out no problem. There is a correct order of operations to that tier. Want to take out the head first because it'll death counter with Quake if it's last alive. That long arm can counter with 3 shockwaves if it's last alive. So that's sort of the order you go in.
Yep, and move on to tier 2 here. This is definitely the most scary part because it's 4v4 and they can do some nasty things. Tiger on the bottom right is weak to ice, but he can freeze you and turn you into zombies. So that's, you never want to deal with that. Hits on the top right, all he does is do physical attacks. You don't really have to worry about him. Tools in the middle is weak to instant death, also weak to lightning, and I believe water as well. But yes, I don't think we have instant death, so we'll just have to kill her the old-fashioned way. She can do Delta Hit, which is another petrifying attack, which is annoying. Other than that, not a ton to worry about. And the magic in the back left can muddle you, but thankfully we got Fire 3 that came out instead of the muddle. So that missed. And magic just casts magic spells, which is annoying. And then when it's at low HP and when it dies, it can counter with Dispel and a Quarter, as we see there, the Quarter come out. Quarter definitely pretty annoying if you're relying on people being high health, but we got a bunch of elixirs, so we should be fine.
Yeah. I mean, even if we're not, right, it's one of those things where hit will death counter with 10 physical attacks, so we don't want to attack hit before healing our party up.
Yeah, so, I think definitely would, heal the party up now that I believe Magic is dead, or at least pretty close.
Is now dead. So, Christopher Warkin takes out the middle lane of Kefka's Tower, so they just have 2 more bosses left before stepping up to the plate. Retro Dad does go back after that Dirt Dragon. The problem, I don't know if you saw that, Darkness, is that 3 of their characters are level 40, and we know what is waiting inside of Kefka's tower.
Yep.
So we'll keep an eye on that.
Well, I do have. They won't have skips. I'm not sure if I forget which lane it was, but it might be the lane that has to fight. They might get levels off the Inferno fight, and then
it was the goddess
the
spot.
Doomgaze fight. Oh, okay. So
yeah, so we'll see how they position their party.
Yes,
Otherwise, this might be a rude awakening here for them.
Anyway,
although, like we said, you can take the Moogle Charm off and gain a few levels after you die. Yeah. Oh, puts the Edgar in that lane. Let's go. The level 48 character. Oh no, I'm sorry. This is Skip. Yeah, no. You're right. Never mind. Yeah. So we'll pour one out for Celeste when it comes time.
But yeah, so on
All right, we do have Life 3.
We have Life 3. Yep. So we have girl there on the top. She doesn't really do that much. She's absorbs all 8 elements. You can't do anything elemental to her, but she will revive Sleep if you manage to kill Sleep first. Sleep, well, we're already into Calmnesses.
Oh boy.
The Calmness will come out.
Life
up to
3.
2 Calmness attacks will come out when you kill him, and we did kill him, so that's what the Life 3 was for, to get Saban back up after the kill, and that's probably the best person to get killed in Life 3, since obviously he's the one with the VK, and you want to be at low HP. Life 3 it heals the same amount as regular life spell or Phoenix Down, which is, I believe, 1/8 of your total HP.
Mm-hmm.
So
yep.
Him being at max HP.
Yeah, that's still a pretty big number for 1/8.
Yeah. Yeah, but
all right,
it's
Quest
still...
for Working passes his math test, thankfully.
Yep.
And since they got Gogo so late, this will actually be pretty decent damage for him.
Mm-hmm.
But hands are off the controller for them, just relying on shrapnel.
Yeah. Which could be scary if one of them gets doomed, but we're already into counter phase on Kefka here.
Yeah, so
Saban takes shots.
We can talk about Kefka's battle script when somebody else fights Kefka, because this one is going to be over with soon. And to borrow a meme, I'm sorry, Papa Shango, I was not familiar with your game.
Yep.
Coming in way under my estimate there.
Yeah, it was like 6 minutes something. Yeah.
Boom shakalaka, crack pow. That was, yeah. When did I say? It was 101.30 or 102.30?
102, I think. Yeah, so sub 6.
Under 6
Very
minutes.
Nice.
Jeez Louise. That's insane.
That's what happens when you have a bunch of sticks there swinging for quad 9s. Like, even, if it was just Ultima, like, yeah, it's also quad 9s, but it's pretty slow animation.
Yeah.
So it probably would have taken, about pretty close to like 6.5, 7 minutes. But when you have all sticks that are just like 1.5 second animations, it's like, just whole day and things die very quickly.
Speaking of things dying, Quest for Workin holding on here against Doomgaze, but the big damage dealer is down, as we are joined by Papa Shango. GG's, congratulations on the W there. And I guess the question for you is, how many free checks would you have gotten?
Yeah, thanks for the GG's. If I would have had an easier one than Zone Eater, I probably would have gone for one more. I debated going for Zone Eater, but I was like, you know what? It's a little bit of a pain, and I have so many checks. I'm going to skip it.
And it turns out you needed it after all.
I did. Yeah, with slots, like Rage, pretty decent dance. I was feeling pretty good about pushing scaling, getting through a couple grind fights. Breaking my Thunder Shield if I would have had to. Luckily didn't.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about, your beginning when you're just getting character after character after free check after free check. Is that something where that you're going to take off the Moogle Charm, or were you considering going to like Imperial Camp at level 3, or did you just want to get a couple of grind fights anyway?
When I push scaling that far, I like to take the Moogle Charm off and get at least one fight in before going into a check, even like Imperial Camp, just because you can get some bad ones, and you just might be, you might get stuck. And so I like just being able to keep my options open, being able to do a quick reset, anything like that.
This Gogo Doomgaze fight, Gogo is like dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodging everything here.
Quest for Work and raging his way through this. Good for him.
Oh boy. So yeah, tell us a little bit about your strategy, getting 6 characters before I think you even started, and he's going to have to take a reset there and come back. You got 6 characters even before you did any of your first fights. Does that sort of affect how you route the rest of your seed?
It does. With the characters were kind of coming from all over the place, so it was kind of difficult to try and determine which ones I should follow. But yeah, I just went back to my opening characters. I heavily considered the floating continent. Kind of wish I would have
3
at
for
this
3,
point.
Yeah,
But it worked out, and it ended up getting me a ton of levels, a lot of big sticks, and it really just let me fly through the end game. Going through. But yeah, when I get all those characters, I'm just really, I keep pushing free checks, even though I've hit progression with the characters there, because I want espers before my first few fights so I can try and get the stat bonuses going. Especially in Moogle Cup, which has got a more generous experience reward. So I know that I'll catch up pretty quickly. I just got to be able to get through just any fight, and then I'll be caught up.
Yes,
go ahead, Darkness.
I was going to ask, so later on, we were going to serve the mid check. You went to do Zozo World of Balance, which I thought was pretty interesting because you did still have a few fast, semi as fast or faster peekable checks or stuff that could only be an Esper like M-Tech or Tritalk or Velt. So I guess what was your decision on that? Just first character or something, or yeah? Yeah,
because Tara was one of my starting characters, so and she had already led to one character, and then I found out later, Mobliz, she led to even another character. And so I was thinking, she's probably got Espers behind her. And I think Zozo gets a bit of a bad rap. It's not that bad of a check. He's just got to wait through that conga line, which is annoying, but doesn't take that long. And so, I was just thinking early characters would likely be Espers, and it turns out, no, your starting character had 3 characters behind it. Turns out I probably should have gone up to Kefka and Narsh while I was doing Welk, but I had so many checks, I just didn't want to do that.
Yeah. That was also an Esper. Not to rub salt in your wounds, Everything you did, floating continent was 3 Espers, so yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it got me the power I needed, I guess, so it worked out for me in the end, because it looks like, I don't know if Workin did floating continent, it looks like he's a bit struggling here with his offense if he's using a Shrapnel Rage at this point in the game.
Yeah, did not go to the World of Ruin Narsh like you and Retro Dad did. So you guys are the ones with the big swinging sticks.
Yeah, the double Illumina.
Yep.
Yeah, he does have the Valiant Knife because he did do Collapsing House early. Retro Dad did not get the Valiant Knife because they did not do Collapsing House early. They did it at the very end, so skipping all the chests in there.
That's too bad. I was desperately hoping for an offering because I had quad 9 HP with that save, and I just really wanted to do so much damage and just couldn't find it.
Yeah, so the other thing that we were contemplating was, were you going to go for Espers or were you going to go for Monster in a Boxes in terms of your routing? And it looked like you just went for Monster in a Boxes somewhat, but you didn't want to do the longer checks like Ancient Castle to go get it.
Yep, pretty much that was my thought. I would have loved an offering because, especially when I was doing them in the beginning, I didn't have those Illuminas yet. I did have Ultima, so it's not like I was lacking in power, but I was really trying to find a way to break the damage cap so I could skip the Meteo and Train counter phase is really why I kept going for it. That, and with an Experience Egg and 100 HP Esper, I just knew it was going to be massive damage if I could find it. Which, speaking of which, I believe Gogo can equip the Valiant Knife if if Quest for Work and checks it.
Yeah, so we'll see how they get through this, but dodging dooms like a champ.
Yep.
So Papa Shango, I believe you were either the winner or a finalist of the first Moogle Cup. Is that correct?
That is correct. It was me versus Plasma Kappa in the finals of Moogle Cup 1, and I did win.
And now you are a mentor here in Moogle Cup number 5. So tell us a little bit about your Moogle Cup experience from both someone who's been on the receiving end of this training, if you will, and also someone who's been mentoring and ushering in the new players that have been joining the community?
Well, the Moogle Cup 1 was a great experience. It was brand new. We're up to number 5 now.
Yep.
It was really just a different experience. I think, well, I had just joined the community at the time, but I think it was different for everyone else too. And I really enjoyed it. Really helped me get off the ground. Everyone was very friendly and helpful. My mentor, One Free Fits, was very, understanding, chill, was, a great guy to have as a mentor, and I learned a lot from him. And I've just been trying to pass that information along, where I can, either in the Discord or the couple times I'm a sub mentor. So the couple times I do get to mentor Moogles, I just try and take everything that they taught me and I learned through that process on, and it's a lot of fun.
As we talked about, Retro Dad getting the bad news that he did not pass his math test there, so took off the Moogle Charm and is going to get some levels for Celeste, and hopefully it won't be a problem after that. Darkness, do you have any other questions for Papa Shango here?
Yes, one small thing. At the end, you chose to do Zone Eater when I think Engine Room was still available. Thoughts on that decision? Yes.
If you get a little lucky with the trolls or be aggressive, it's faster, I think, to do Zone Eater than do Engine Room. Engine Room, you kind of gotta walk around a little bit. There's an animation, and then if it wasn't an Esper, I would have felt compelled to go to the Ancient Castle, and I wanted to avoid that if I could.
Yeah. I know that.
And at the time, there's I still hadn't seen Doomgaze or Magimaster, and so I was like, there's a couple things out there.
Yeah, I think that's all. Again, congratulations on your win here, and yeah.
Well, thank you, and thank you guys for putting on the restream and allowing me to race. I'm glad we could. I'm glad you guys could put it on. I always enjoy getting in front of a crowd if we can.
Yeah, I love watching races because you always either learn something new or you're like, oh, that's cool. I never tried this, interaction before. So always nice to do it as we have Christopher Workin starting here on Final Kefka. Did get Golem out of the Ancient Castle. So if you did go down all the way there, you would have had your calmness protection, but it didn't matter anyway. You had an under 6 minute Final Kefka. Is that the fastest you think you've done?
Probably. I don't run the stats companion, but that was one of, if not the fastest Kefka I've ever had. The only thing that could make it faster is I think I've had some where I have super strong Merton and then a VK offering or something, but it would be right there. That was probably the fastest one I've done. I debated not casting Life 3 on Edgar since he had double Illumina. I figured he'd block it, but I had the extra turn, so I figured I may as well do it.
Yeah. Well, again, congratulations. Thanks for racing. Can't have the race without the runners, and looking forward to featuring you again soon.
All right, great. Thanks for having me, guys. We'll see you around.
Okay, bye.
So interesting there on Workin's side. Celis was dead, I believe, to start or pretty early on. He never brought her up. I don't know if we're out of Phoenix Towns at this point or.
No, he bought 10 before he came into Kefka's Tower. I think maybe he's like, you know what? Celeste is not nearly as good as Gogo is, because Gogo is actually higher level than Celeste, believe it or not, because of how late they got Gogo, and due to the fact that we had, that experience egg on one of the characters, so the character average level kind of balanced itself out. Gogo does have access to all of the spells that your party has learned, so I think Gogo in sort of a support role would have been better than Celeste in a, well, let's hope she does the thing I want her to do with shrapnel role, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Not often you see that happen, though.
Yeah, definitely.
But Workin does have access to all the goodies we want: Mute and Doom and Calmness Protection. The unfortunate part is his offense is nowhere near as good as Papa Shango's was.
Yeah, and Tiger does not care about Mute or Doom or any of that stuff, which the flares start coming out, nearly killing everybody, but definitely killing Terra there. So we'll get her back up and try this again as the Doom finally hit. Hopefully we'll get do stuff a bit onto Tiger, focus on him since he's really the only threat at this point with Tools dead and Magic muted, so all damage gonna oof.
Yeah, so the problem here is that X Magic is an incredibly slow command, right? Because not only are you casting 2 spells, but you actually take a while before you actually take your action, and that sometimes allows enemy ATBs to fill up so that they can sneak in and get an attack before your stuff that you've already queued up. And that is kind of what happens at Quest for Work. And you queued up a cure-all spell, and Tiger said, you're taking too long. I'm going to go first. And that's unfortunately what happened there.
Oof.
And now we're in this kind of
knocked down.
Yeah, we're in this recovery loop here, so a bit difficult to get out of. The good news is Magic is muted, so they can't take any turns, and they just have hit to deal with, which Saban has more health than than Terra did, so that'll help out here.
I'm getting Sword Tech 5 coming out. Very, very nice. Niche Sword Tech there to get some healing. Definitely better than Cure 2 probably.
Yep. Third time is the charm for Retro Dad RPG. They are stepping on the switches now, and believe it or not, they have more levels than Christopher Warkin does. So this race for second is still not over, folks. There's still time to catch up, especially with how horrifically awful this Tier 2 is going for Christopher Warkin. And again, not his fault. This is just what happens sometimes. Tier 2 gonna Tier 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, another downside with X Magic, although we're not going to see it on this tier at least, is that you can get countered in between the first and the second cast. So if you're trying to use it to avoid media, which we didn't talk about, or Ultima counters from Tier 3 and Tier 4, that's not going to work, sadly. You're going to have to do it in a different way with Quick Spell or, offering attack or dual wielding stuff. But we go on to Tier 1 there for Retro Dad, so we do have Doom, okay. So they might have just done it very fast.
Yeah.
No, they doomed the wrong arm by accident.
Okay, yeah. That'll happen sometimes if your controller accidentally eats an input or something like that.
Yep. Always unfortunate.
Incorrect blitz input is my favorite blitz.
Yeah. Yep. I definitely, especially starting out, that was 90% of my blitzes. We get it first try onto the correct arm there, so should be, again, with all the power we have,
60% of the time it works every time.
Yep.
Ooh, yeah, so now we just have Magic left. So unfortunately, Magic will still get their death counter because the mute status wears off before the death counter. And Retro Dad RPG using Phantom on this part of Final Kefka. Unfortunately, that Life 3 will strip that Vanish status off of the characters. Basically, it makes it so that physical attacks always miss, but magical attacks always hit and remove the Vanish status. So, only happened to Edgar, and since Edgar, I think, is also doing the dual Lumina setup for Retro Dad, that is some pretty high evasion. And yes, we did fix the evade bug in Worlds Collide as well.
Yep, so yeah, evasion actually matters. And both evasions matter, but yep, for each individual thing. And then, yeah. So as Retro Dad moves up to Tier 2, Workin moves up to Tier 3. We'll go through this a bit more since I didn't go over quite all the
we didn't get a chance to last time.
Yeah, so when sleep gets below 10 or to 10,240 HP or below, they start countering every attack with a 33% chance of doing either Medio or Train, which mutes and blinds all your party members, or just doing nothing. And also all their attacks change to those three. Before that, though, they just do stuff like Murden and Whirlwind and physical attacks. But yeah, so yeah, one of the other things important besides the Calmness Protection is the way to sort of get around that Meteor phase. So you preferably want a way to deal more than 10,000 damage, which, like I mentioned, dual wielding, Illuminas, if you have that, or like if we had an offering, then that would help with the Valiant Knife to get around
Sword
that.
Tech 7, I think, is the only thing we kind of have in this party.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So here comes the Golem.
Gonna be enough damage. But yeah, Golem blocks all physical attacks up to a certain damage threshold, which is the HP of the user when it's cast, or the caster, I should say.
Nice.
But yep. Oh yeah, we had the 2 dice. Never mind. So that we did get through it.
Oh, and nice a Golem and an Interceptor. Best doggo. Can we get a woof woof in the chat? So yeah, here comes Kefka, and now we can explain Kefka while Retro Dad looks like they've got to do some recovery of their own here.
Yep, so Kefka, they start with Fallen One unless you do 30,000 damage to him instantly like Shango did. Then they skip that part. But yeah, it sets all your HP to 1, which is a bit annoying if you don't have a way to do lots of healing, which we don't quite have. I don't know if we have a Mega Elixir. I don't think we ever found one. We do have a few elixirs, I'm pretty sure, so we can just individually elixir people up. But after that, when they get to, I think 33,000 HP, I think 33,680, or 32,680, I believe, they enter Goner phase, which is when they start charging for Goner, and they can't do any counterattacks while they're charging for Goner, so that's very important. When they get below 30,040 HP, they start doing a counter of either 1 in 3 chance of a hyperdrive, or 1 in 3 chance of a physical attack, or 1 in 3 chance of doing nothing. And then when they get below 10,240 HP, then that hyperdrive turns into an Ultima, which is you definitely don't want to see. So you try to avoid that as much as possible. Hyperdrive doesn't matter as much since it's a single target, although it's almost guaranteed to one-shot people unless you got like 5k plus health. But yep, there's the Gunner coming out, and we definitely won't see it, but if for some reason you get them below 7,680 HP and you don't kill them quickly enough, they will alternate between casting Goner and casting Meteor. Not Meteo, but Meteor, the other spell that's similarly named. But yeah, I don't know about you, but I don't think I've ever seen anyone run into it, at least in Worlds Collide, because generally speaking,
it's very rare.
You have enough damage. Either you have enough damage to like skip through that phase completely, like Workin did. GG's to Workin, or you just don't have enough damage to reach that phase at all, and just die before you get there. So yeah, extremely rare to see, but you won't see it here. But Retro Dead did manage to stabilize somewhat and get up to tier 3. And we
are joined by the greatest name in the Worlds Collide community, Questifer Workin. GG's on your finish there. Congratulations on finishing up the seed. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, and I can't argue with having the greatest name. I'm sorry, I can't. Little humble brag there.
Yeah. So this seed was a very interesting one. We got all of the free checks access right away. So what was sort of your philosophy there? Was there kind of a point where you're like, okay, I need to stop doing free checks because otherwise I'm going to run up the score too much?
Yeah, exactly. I almost did because I was having trouble doing Imperial Camp.
Yep.
And I'm just like, okay, that's it. I took a grind fight and I didn't get what I wanted, but I needed to slow down a little bit to speed up, because that 5-10 minutes cost me a little bit. But yeah, I knew I needed to stop with the free checks so I didn't run up run it up too much.
Very nice usage of Phantom there for Calmness Protection. I've been running this game for a long time, and I am afraid to use Phantom a lot of times on a Calmness Protection there. But Retro Dead RPG, one of the Moogles in the Moogle Cup, was like, nope, I know what to do here. Mm-hmm. We're going to use it. We're going to get my double Illumina swinging Edgar out, and we're going to get the Calmness. So really nice play there from them.
Yeah, that's good. Where were the Illuminas?
World of Ruin Marsh.
Yep, Tritalk and the Esper Dragon were both Illuminas.
Yeah.
Sad face.
Well, we noticed that you were using, shrapnel on that Doomgaze fight with Celeste there, so definitely would have helped to have some more big sticks
Well,
going on.
I just happened to send my 2 worst characters against the hardest fight.
Oh, yeah.
Because if I had sent Sabin and Terra against Doomgaze, no problem. If I had sent Shadow, he could have X Magic Ultima, dual cast Ultima, no problem. I just happened to send my 2 worst against Doomgaze. So that was just a string of bad luck.
Yep.
So speaking of worst, is that also why you decided to just let Celeste die on the first tier? You were like, well, Gogo can at least use the magic, and Celeste has kind of run out of her usefulness here.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like Celeste wasn't doing much damage, and she was kind of the whatever. So I'm like, okay, Gogo can use the items, and it was just not worth the hassle.
GG's for Retro Dad RPG. Their official time, 1:31:46, so coming in just behind Christopher Warkin. So get your GG's. That is a very impressive run for one of our Moogles here. Really, really nice. I'm going to instruct him how to do the interview stuff. So, Darkness, why don't you take over with the lines of questioning here?
Yeah, I guess, what was your thoughts on floating continent? I guess, doing that.
So, was I the only one to do floating continent?
I think so. I don't think Retro Dad did it, and Shango definitely did do it. No. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
No, Retro Dad did do floating content.
Oh yeah, never mind.
Yes, you were the first one there, and I think doing it when you did it was a good idea too.
Yeah, because I went to go do Magitech Factory, ran smack dab into spicy chicken. I'm like, well, that's not happening.
Yep.
And I'm just like, okay. And I panicked there for a minute. I'm like, okay, let's just do this type of thing. So there was, and I had just found the Valiant Knife. Sabin needed levels because he was the only one who could use it. So I'm like, oh wait, there's pre-fights before the boss fight. So free grind for Sabin and the Valiant Knife.
Yes. That's another good point. Question is, bringing Sabin back in with, even though he's at level 3, I thought it was still worth it to get the VK there.
Yeah, especially since I had an experience egg, and a health, 50% health Esper. I figured, okay, Sabin is going to, a little bit of coddling, a little bit of babying. He's gonna rock face for me at the end, and he did.
Yeah, and I also saw you digging in a lot of monster in a boxes. Was that part of your impetus for going all the way to Ancient Castle, or was that just like, I'm gonna go do Edgar's checks now?
Going all the way to Ancient Castle was a hunt for the offering.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yep.
Any other questions, Darkness, we have for Christopher Warkin?
No, I think that's all I got. Unfortunately, we never saw the offering.
No.
Okay, so it wasn't Narsh Academy?
Did you do the monster in a boxes at Collapsing House?
I did do them at Collapsing House.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Okay.
I did.
So then they had to have been at Setzer's check because we saw every single other one.
Phantom Train. We didn't see
Phantom Train. Yeah, so it was either one of those two.
Okay.
We saw all of the other ones. So.
Okay. Cool.
But thank you, Christopher Warkin, so much for volunteering to be broadcast on Restream. We can't have the races without the runners, so thank you. And looking forward to doing this again soon.
Yeah, and we can't have the restreams without the restreamer, the tracker, and the lovely commentators. Retro Dad, GG.
GG, Christopher.
All right, I'll let you have your time. I'm gonna go find dinner.
Yep.
Enjoy.
Hopefully
you don't have any spicy chicken because you already had some.
Catch you later.
See you later. Retro Dad RPG. GG's on your run. Congrats on finishing that one out. So, this was an interesting seed. There were a lot of free checks up front, and you had a little bit of a struggle getting off a level 3 there.
I have never had that much trouble getting off the ground before. I think it was a combination of some nerves and, I'm still learning, obviously. I've been playing this game for all of a month, so...
No,
Ooh.
I think for the fact that you have only been playing the game for a month, I was just talking about this while we were doing the interview, to being able to use Phantom as calmness protection on Tier 3, which is a very difficult thing to do. Even someone like me who's been playing the game for a long time is scared to do that. That was a really nice show of skill very early on.
It came down to the last couple dragon checks hitting that second Illumina and the Genji Glove right at the right time to give me, damage cap breaking and being able to use the Phantom to do that. I have trouble with it if I don't have over 999 damage, so worked out well.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about that strategy there, because you did get Kefka unlock at the bare minimum of 12 checks. Did you just feel that you didn't have enough levels or didn't have enough power, or maybe a little bit of both?
A lot of both.
Okay.
My SAG Sabin was up in levels, but everybody else was low 30s. That's kind of sketchy for me, especially with as much trouble as I'd been having on that seat already. So I had the ultimate casters, but I really wanted to hunt those sticks and get some extra levels. So I started hitting the dragons, and I think just the 2 was enough, and got me to where I got through the tower climb okay. Ran into that Doom Gaze, had a little bit of trouble, had to reset a couple of times.
Basically everybody did.
Yeah.
She was a perfect level 40, but I thankfully remembered about that X-Egg and got her up to 42. So
yeah. We sort of went, oh no, when you formed your party, because we already knew what was waiting for you in the tower there. So yeah, the only other thing I wanted to add before Darkness, I'll let you chime in, is I thought you did a great job of pivoting to something else when something didn't go right. You didn't sort of bash your head up against the wall. The Stooges fight was particularly rough because it was after you had gotten all those levels from Opera House,
right.
But then you still went to go do something else, and it was stuff that was like, okay, I need to figure this out a little bit, and you didn't let it get to you, or at least it didn't seem like it on stream. So I thought that was really well done. There's a lot of times when people start to panic when bad things happen, and I thought you did a good job with composure there.
After the Stooges fight, I kind of had to take a deep breath, say, okay, I'm gonna walk grind into the free check at the castle, and then think about what I'm doing for just 1 second. And I was able to get the Sabin, I think, and then go doing the grind start that I was a little comfortable with. So yeah, no, that first couple of about 20-25 minutes of that seed was panic inducing. So.
Yeah, that's the old adage, or the old how does it feel, right? Do I have enough offense to run up the score here, or do I just stop taking free checks after a while? That's a very hard thing for even experienced runners to do. So it's good to get seeds like this when you're early on and still learning, to kind of get like, what happened when I tried this, last time kind of thing, right? So getting a better feel for it sometimes is just the way to go. So Darkness, do you have questions for Retro Dad while we've got them here?
Sure. Yeah, I guess what are your thoughts? Early on you went to, I believe, World of Ruin Collingen for shopping. Just as why? Because I think that's pretty rare to see people go over there.
I think I was just already in World of Ruin. Didn't I go straight up there from Jador? Yeah, yes, it was just not wanting to switch back worlds.
Yeah, obviously, shops, you got the pro rods there, which I guess you thought it was enough to take on the Dirt Dragon, but unfortunately wasn't.
It was not.
Rando sometimes.
Yeah, could have maybe searched a couple more towns for some rods, or Super Bowls or something. But
yeah,
I've been having in my practice seeds, I've been having a little bit too much early grinding, trying to get off the ground, so I've been working on trying to shorten that up, and I took a chance on those pro rods, and I won again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it wasn't a bad idea. It just is unlucky, right?
I think just
knowing when when you had a bad move versus knowing when you get unlucky is also another skill that takes time as you play more of. That was just, Dirt Dragon did nasty things to your party at the wrong time versus yeah, I was never going to win this fight anyway.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, this is copium maybe, but I switched controllers today, and my input delay on my slots pause buffering is way longer than it was with the other controllers. So I'm gonna have to figure something out. I could not get 7 flush to land at all. It was that stupid chocobo thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we noticed it in the final fight there
Yeah.
with the missed target, and we're like, yeah, sometimes controllers eat inputs, and incorrect blitz input happens to me more often than I'd like to admit.
only when it's important.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's my one comment on the going over there with the rods is because they scale off like magic damage and level. It's going there with at level 3 with rods is a bit tough compared to like Super Balls where it's level doesn't matter at all. I think we did see Super Balls somewhere. I think it was like World of Ruin Thamasa
World
or
of Ruin
something.
Thamasa, after we did the shadow check. So that's tough because that's not a town that's near anything.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, you're not going to go there. But yeah, I think it definitely a play that could have paid off a lot if you had managed to get the kill there, but sadly wasn't meant to be. But yeah, I think that's all I got basically. So unless you
how does the saying go? Right play, wrong result. That's how it happens. So any other final thoughts before we let you go?
Oh, I just want to say thank you. This was a whole lot of fun. My first real race, so I'll do better next time.
Oh, yeah,
well,
one more thing. How have you been enjoying the Moogle Cup so far since it's just started out?
My God, it's been a blast. Been working with Sigil as my mentor, and he's a wealth of knowledge. Is just it's only even been a few days, and I didn't put it on display very well today, but I have gotten a lot better. So I look forward to showing it off a little bit better the next time, making him proud. So thank you guys for hosting this, and thanks to the restreamers and everybody setting it up. And
no problem.
Runners,
And
GG guys, good job.
Don't be so humble. Get some cockiness and some confidence in here. You did a lot of really good things this run, so be proud of it. And thank you for volunteering to be on Restream. We can't have the races without the runners, so appreciate you putting yourself out there for your first real race. You're a real grown up now.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Also want to thank Gretham for doing the tracking on tonight's race, doing all of the hard work while Darkness and I just pontificate about all of the things that are happening on the screen in front of us. So thank you so much, Gretham. Darkness, do you have any other closing thoughts, final words before we get the heck out of here?
Yeah, no, just thanks to everyone that participated and helped out, and thank you, Schwans, for commentating with me and doing all the restream stuff behind the scenes to set up stuff. You're not gonna be thanking yourself, so I gotta do that for you.
Yes, thank me for everything.
Yes. Yep. But yeah, I think that's all. And thank everyone for watching. And I guess one more thing. If you're interested in more Worlds Collide stuff, we do have another stream coming 9 p.m. tomorrow. It'll be me and Workin, who you just saw on commentary there. I forget who the runners are, but it'll be one official Moogle Cup tournament race. I believe the first one we get to stream. Right, or second one, but
we had one yesterday on our own FF6 Worlds Collide Twitch channel. We have one tomorrow, so we got plenty of racing action for you if you're enjoying this. We have a YouTube channel where we upload of all of our races too, but also want to give a shout out to SpeedGaming for allowing us to mess up one of their channels for our weekly slot. We will be back, I believe, next Wednesday. I think I'll be okay for that. The one after that might get a little dicey because of my life travel stuff, but maybe we'll pick on someone else to take up the mantle for that one. So anyways, thank you so much, peoples at home. Hope you enjoyed the race. Thank you, Darkness. Thank you, Gretham. Thank you, Schwantz. And we'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.